Hey Phoebe, hope you can hear me all right. I think there's country music playing in the background.
Love that.
Um, just wanted to ask you what you thought of your year so far. I know maybe you don't focus on your own statistics, but you've been, I think, an anchor back there on the back line, just with a few changes throughout the course of the season. You seem pretty consistent. Just how have you liked the way that your season's played out so far? Obviously, factor in the team successes.
Yeah, I think that we have like a really good mentality on the team right now about just bringing our personal best every day, and the ability that that has to influence everybody else on the team to also bring their best. Um, it's just like a really good environment, and I think if anything, that's what you're seeing is just my teammates raising the standard in myself, and myself raising the standard in my teammates, continually pushing to grow each other and just get better.
Thanks, Charles. And then we'll go to Steve.
Hi, Phoebe. To kind of follow up on that, you made your 50th appearance for the Reign last week. You're now a veteran on the team. You've worn the armband a couple times. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about kind of your evolution as a pro player and kind of becoming one of the more senior players on the team and how that experience has felt for you.
Yeah. I mean, 50 is a crazy number. That's so wild. I haven't really even thought about how many games that is. It feels crazy. But as far as my growth, I think I had a lot of maturing to do. I think as we all do, coming out of college, going to the Pride, going overseas, getting to the Reign, adjusting with this team who was full of that veteran presence and really getting to lean on them and see how they worked and how they all carried out their business and the level of professionalism that it really takes to be a top player, a top team in this league. Um, I've really just tried to replicate a lot of what they've done and to still have great leaders on the team. Like Lou is such a um, confidant for me. She's always somebody I can talk to, somebody who's obviously been through literally everything, and just still is always pushing the level, pushing to get the most out of us. And I think that unrelenting spirit is something that really resonates with me and is something that I rely on really heavily.
Thanks. And looking ahead to the game this weekend, Bay's kind of changed up their attack quite a bit in their first few games. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about what you are expecting to see from them from looking at the tape so far this year and kind of how you're planning to address their myriad number of options in attack.
hmm I think that, and I've said this to you guys before, but we always have to focus on what we're doing. I think that every team in this league has ample people up top that are going to throw speed, strength, tactical ability, technical ability at you. There's not really a bad team in the league. Everybody's good. You never know what you're going to get on any given week. So I think just hammering home our principles and focusing on what has been making us really solid and really good in the past games and amplifying those things while also tweaking some of the areas of inconsistency that we've had are really what our focuses have been.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. And then Charles.
I know she's not in your position group, but Sam Meza's come in and kind of been a strong, I'm sure you know now, strong presence for you guys. Just what have you seen from her, I guess, jumping from last year to this year? Obviously, she was on loan last year, but she's kind of filled in when, you've had G or Jess down and, seemingly held things down at the midfield. I know she's typically in front of you. What have you seen from Sam so far this year?
I love Sam Meza. I think that she really encapsulates like everything that you want out of a teammate, and she just has that championship mentality. She just wants to go out there and give everything that she can on any given day. She's incredibly open to like constructive criticism. She's always asking and willing to take things on board, and um, she's another one who's like mentality and like just showing up every day and trying to give her best, whatever that best is it just helps the team so much. And I've been so happy to see her excel and do really well.
Thanks, Charles. Any other questions for Phoebe? And go ahead again, Charles.
I was going to wait to see if there was another meaningful one, just because I see the Eagle. Were you paying attention to the draft last night? Is
Yes.
there? Okay.
I turned
I
it on
was
just
waiting
for our
for
one
the
draft pick.
There you go. Well, yeah, how long it takes. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. I figured if there was something else important, I would get some less critical out of the way.
Yeah, fair enough. No, I'm pumped about the Birds. I love the Eagles so much. I love, from like the leadership question you asked earlier, I think that AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Jalen Hurts, all those guys are people who I aspire to be like. I think that the team that they created in Philadelphia last year is one of the coolest teams from a perspective of like they just loved each other and bought into what their collective mission was. It's a lot of the stuff you don't see on the field that they talk about a lot. And I love them. Go Birds, baby.
So actually, that's great because now I haven't really had the chance to ask a professional athlete this, but do you see the way that other teams' cultures are? And I know the Reign culture is something that's been, instilled for years because of the originals, right? But when you see other teams, like you mentioned, that have that culture, that bond, or other things like, certain leaders, do you ever try to take that? It sounds like you do, but do you ever try to take that sort of thing away just to instill in your thing? Because it seems cool to kind of hear that other athletes look at each other and say, yes, this is something that I want to see, with our group.
Yeah, for sure. I think specifically going back to the Eagles again, AJ Brown posted a picture of a book that he had read. It's called Inner Excellence. He was reading it on the sideline, which was crazy at the time. But I was like, if this is a book that AJ Brown's reading on the sideline, I think I should probably read this book. And I have, and it's amazing. And I think we would all, like every player in the league, would be so remiss not to at least pay a little attention to what other super high achieving athletes are doing and how they're doing it, because the path to success is wide and varying. There's a million ways to do and get to what you want to get to. And I think finding people whose path resonates with you can be hard at times, but if you're looking, there's always somebody there. So yeah, I definitely look to athletes in any sport to find some of that similarity.
Hey, Laura. Hope the California weather is treating you well. Just wanted to ask you what your thoughts on Sam Meza have been over the last few weeks. I know, with having G out a few weeks ago and Jess out, she seems like she's come in and been a pretty big contributor for you guys. So just your thoughts on what she's looked like, for the first few weeks.
Yeah, I think she's done really well. I think obviously going out on loan and coming back, I think it's really set her up for success. And we're seeing that with her performances on the field. I think we played her in the Angel City game a little bit higher, and I felt that was a challenge for her. But I think been playing lower in the last couple of games, I think she's been performing brilliantly for us.
I'm sorry to keep asking you about her week by week, but just I think last week when I asked you said Jess might be a wait and see. I don't know if you have any update on hers. Obviously, she has bigger things to prepare for, as well as maybe a Maddie Mercado. She's available for you guys.
Yeah, Maddie's back with us. Jess is still probably a few weeks away, unfortunately.
Thanks, Charles. Steve, go ahead.
Hey, Laura, I wanted to ask, so far this season, the Reign have been ceding more possession than in past years to the opposition. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about it. Is that kind of a planned tactical shift now that you have some more direct threats? Is that something you're working on, or is it kind of just how game state has been going for you?
Yeah, no, it's not a plan, to be honest. I think we want to be defensively strong, or stronger than we have been. And, often that means that the other team has the ball to be able to know if you're doing that. But yeah, it's definitely not a tactic of ours. I think we want to control the game with the ball more than we want to control it without it. And I think we tend to go through spells in games where we do have a lot of possession, and then sort of the game management side of the game. Like I think about Portland and North Carolina, and the games that obviously we've won, where I think we've had periods in those games where we have really dominated possession. And then maybe the game state, we get a little bit stressed and then we start to give it up, and then we have to defend a little bit more. I mean, probably the only game where we truly weren't bothered about having the ball was Orlando. We actually wanted them to have it. But yeah, no, outside of that, no, it's not really a tactic, I would say.
Thanks. And then looking ahead to Bay, I wonder if you could talk a little bit about what you've seen from them in reviewing tape, preparing for this, and what you're kind of expecting to see from them in attack against you tomorrow.
Yeah, I think Bay are very good with the ball. They stretch the game width-wise and and vertically well, which makes it challenging defensively, but also means that they're quite expansive when they have it. So if you can get your defending structure right, we could be a potential threat in transition. And yeah, I think we're quite similar teams, I think, in the way that we play. They're defensively solid, they don't give too much up. But yeah, similar to last year, really, I feel like their style hasn't changed that much from a year ago.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Charles?
Hey, Laura, two things I wanted to ask you based on what Phoebe was talking to us about. I asked Phoebe about her season so far, and she mentioned that just a mentality within the club is improving, helping each other grow, kind of iron sharpens iron kind of mindset. How have you seen that, through training? I talked about culture a little bit. Obviously, I know the culture's been instilled, but, just to hear that from someone who's now somewhat a veteran for you after she hit the 50 appearances mark. And it's just interesting to hear. So just what you've maybe seen from the competition standpoint, because I know earlier in the year, there was a lot of talk about the depth within your squad.
Yeah, I think I would echo that. I think we're very inexperienced too. So I think the players that have experience have been leading and pushing on lots of aspects, whether it be, the quality within training, the communication that we have as a group collectively between each other. That, when you're an inexperienced young player, that might not come natural to you, but it needs to be something that if we're going to give you these responsibilities in games, that you may need to progress. And yeah, I think in pre-season, I felt like that's what we really did a lot of work on, was finding out who we are, where we're at, what we need. And I think the, older, more experienced players have sort of gravitated to really pushing the standards in training and across the board, which, the less experienced younger group are rising to the occasion. So that definitely helps.
And then the other thing, and it kind of made me think of what you were talking about last week with wanting to see more women coaches in the league, a little bit, not so much with this question, but Phoebe mentioned looking at other pro athletes around different sports and taking things from them. Have you, I know it's maybe a little different, but have you taken anything from other coaches you've seen in different sports that maybe you've tried to instill in your coaching style, or is it a little more difficult to try and do that?
No, I anytime I have the opportunity to learn, I would take it. I did a leadership course when I worked for US Soccer with the Olympic Committee, and it was all Olympic sports on that. So that was great exposure to, how other people think and how they have to operate within their sport. And yeah, I think, again, like, men's football to me is a different sport. So, like, learning from things that may have gone on in the men's game that may not translate into the women's game or might translate into the women's game is another area of focus. And then I think the other thing for me is, like, I think the thing you can take from all coaches, no matter what sport, is like leadership stuff, culture building, all those things that it doesn't matter what sport you play in. If you play a team sport, these things are pretty generic across the board. I think they're the things that I've really taken time to look at and focus on and see if there's little nuggets that you can grab off people to be able to either help yourself or help the group that you work with.